On Amazon, for the most part, brands are BS. They really, really are. So when you go into a normal retail environment and you're shopping at your local Coles or Woolies or something like that, brands are epically important, and also positioning on shelf space is very, very important as well, because you're walking down aisles and you see a brand that looks familiar to you, and that's how you shop in a normal brick and mortar retail environment. Online shopping, particularly on a website like Amazon, is much, much different to that. So online shopping, what people do to find products is they type things into a search box. Let's just see if we can do that. So they type things into the search box, and so because of that, brands have got much less influence online than they do in retail outlets. So that's the first thing to consider, okay? So there are, of course, some benefits to having a big brand name behind you when you're selling. There's a lot of trust and credibility that can go along with that. But Amazon and online marketing in the first instance, at the very, very beginning of making a sale journey, is all about getting your product in front of somebody. The way that you do that on Amazon is through keywords or search terms. And so most people do not search for a brand name, they search for a product. So that's a much, much more interesting distinction. They look for what the actual product is. Silicon spatulas, for instance, they're searching for those rather than brand name silicon spatulas. That's how these things work. Having said that, there are still some advantages, of course, of building your brand, and you should definitely go about doing that, because once you have a brand and you can go onto other platforms, and there's a lot of good benefits that accrue from building your brand, not least of which is trust, and that's important consideration online. So what's the pros and cons of marketing somebody else's? Well, the big pro is trust, given that they've got a good brand name that you can leverage, and the big con is cost. So normally a big brand name, well, they are just a private labeler, which is what I'm teaching you how to do, of course. They're just a private labeler that's built a brand around a product. Another company, another factory has created that product, and they have simply put their logo onto it and then invested in building the brand around it. That tends to be how these things work. Of course, there's some exemptions to that, but for the most part, that's how these things work. So by buying wholesale or selling somebody else's brand, then you're going to make less money because you're paying them. So you're paying them to pay the factory, if that makes sense. So whereas you could go directly to the factory, you're going via somebody else who's putting their own markup on the product. So that's the big downside, is cost. The big upside is trust. On Amazon, for most categories, brands are not that important. There are some categories where it is important, but for most categories, it's not important. But things like food mixers, for instance, food mixers, then brands would be important. So Vitamix, for instance, well, that's a very, very big brand. KitchenAid, big brand. Bella, also big brand. So those sort of things, you can see why that would be important. But for most other things, I can't think of many things where it's important to have the backing of a big brand like that. So I hope that helps, Ben. You'll pay your money and make your own choice. For me, I do a combination of both. The only time I sell a brand is when I can get significant advantage from selling somebody else's product versus selling my own, and that advantage is always search volume. That's always the advantage I'm looking for. And if you want to find out if things are being searched for, then you should go to Merchant Words and use Merchant Words to tell you if the brand name is being searched for on Amazon. Or you can use Keyword Planner and do the same thing to see if the brand name is being searched for online. Hey, thanks so much for watching that video, and I hope that you got some massive value from it. Before you go, do you live in Australia? If you do, this is for you. Would you like to learn how to sell things on Amazon here in Australia? Would you like to know what sells really, really well and what sells for the maximum amount of profit? Would you like to know where you can source those products from, whether that be in China or here in Australia, and how to source them so you pay bottom dollar and get maximum value for what you're doing? If you do, please subscribe to my channel and like this video, and you'll learn that and much more. It's the exact same information that people like Jeff from New South Wales have used to make $45,000 a month on Amazon, that Sue, who's from the sunny coast, has used to purchase herself a brand spankly BMW every single year as a result of her e-commerce business, and the lovely Kate from Bowral in New South Wales has used to make $32,000 a year on a month, not a year, a month on Amazon, and indeed Anthony, who makes $15,000 a month on Amazon, selling, as he puts it, odds and sods. If you'd like to learn the exact same information that they use to maximize their profits for their Amazon businesses, subscribe to this video, like my channel, post below if you want me to teach you something. Okay, I'm out of here. Speak to you soon. Bye. Subscribe. Do it now.